workspace for all of our projects, because it's never just files. It's always a task list and an Excel file and a PowerPoint that's got the mock-ups and things in it, and then some emails and.
So by document workspace, do you mean like a site?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, a site.
Yeah, so we'd have a new site, which to us
I
in
think
some
you
cases
guys
was
do as well. We basically created a different site for.
Well, we currently create, we have teams for, it's not for our internal project
Not the
management.
internal project. Okay. Sorry.
not for internal.
No, typically we build solutions like different sites. But our actual documentation, we previously used Dropbox. Which we moved away from.
I don't know whether we should kick you out.
It's all good, yeah. It's all good.
Okay, you can stay. So when Planner came along, we thought, well, if we're going to be encouraging our clients to use it, we actually better use it ourselves to see what this thing does. And it's really been working very, very well for us. And I think because it's unstructured enough for us to work quickly, but it's structured enough for us to know where to go to look for stuff. If, for instance, if anybody in the team needs to do anything, you better know that it's on the planner site. And the moment a project kicks off, whether it's just got a PowerPoint with the mock-ups in it, or whatever it is that you need, whatever documentation around that project, there will be a planner site for it. What's nice is, so you can add your plans as favorites. So if, for instance, here, if I wanted this one to appear at the top, so it's literally that easy to get it up to here. Or if this one is HST's finished, so I can remove from favorites and it just gets replaced.
Oh, that consistency is up.
I know. We just did it quickly before you arrived. This should not be that many not started. But and what's nice is that you have an immediate snapshot of what's outstanding on it in a nice graphical form. But if I want to, I can click into the plan, and now I can see that in these different buckets, I've got some development tasks that need to happen, some content admin bits and pieces, or I can add a new bucket. So we haven't really created a template because we're still fiddling with, and I suppose every project has different buckets.
I mean,
Yeah,
this
it's-
is a Trello board.
Yes.
You
So
move
I
it from
think
one
this
to
is-
the next.
Can you move them?
Can you drag and drop?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So
Yes, you
here,
can.
for instance, you can. Yeah.
Ah,
so
okay,
that's cool.
so
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So typically what we do is we would start off a new plan, and I won't do it now because it takes a while for the document library to be generated. But with every plan you get a task list and a document library. But it gets created as a new site. Yeah. So for in your hub, for instance, let's go into Pelican, and here are our tasks, and here are the files associated with this project. So we even keep all of our emails in here. So if anyone wants to know
Is that a
anything,
manual thing, or do you have it
It's a
automatically?
manual it's a manual thing, but with every planner site, it also creates
Email address.
an email address,
Oh, that's cool.
and you get a group. You get
Because
teams.
Office 365, I mean, you can't email the SharePoint site the way you used to be able to,
Email-enabled document
Yeah.
libraries.
or maybe you can now. I
You
don't.
can.
I think they replaced it with Office 365 groups.
So here, with every planner site that you create, you get a group.
Oh, like a domain.
Yeah. So all your correspondence, all your conversations go into here as well. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You guys use this more than, and that's why you're here. You stayed for a reason. Right? I might be talking absolute rubbish.
It's not quite the same as domain group because it sits in Office 365, so it's like an Outlook.com group
Okay.
that's created.
Okay.
So if you had, so for example, federated services with AD, you won't find a
You
group
won't find
subgroup
it in
here,
there.
but
Okay.
you will find it in Office 365 stack with Outlook.com. But you got to remember, like Lynda says, this when you create a new planner site, you're creating all of that stuff in the background. So when you create a new plan, it doesn't just go snap 5 minutes.
It takes a while.
You
Yeah.
see it takes a little while because it's got to create it all.
And I'm very impatient. I want to create the plan and upload everything
Yeah,
and move away. I'm like, oh, come on! And it says, wait, we're working on it. Hold on a
Previously you
minute.
had to do it yourself.
I know, we get so used to it being done for us now. So here you can see in the groups how it saves all of the conversations and stuff in here as well, which is quite nice. So if we go back to Planner, so here's all the files. So typically we create the plan, upload all of the documents that we need to, and then after we've had our project kickoff meeting, we'll walk away with a whole bunch of tasks that will be created and assigned to the relevant people. So then when you are in here and you go to My Tasks, you can see across all of your projects what tasks are waiting for you to be done, which is really cool.
I like that you can, in the top right hand side of it says group by. It allows
Yes.
you to very quickly change it to the
By plan
plan,
or by progress.
all your progress.
Yes.
And isn't it
There's a
also,
few more options on the actual board as well.
Yeah.
isn't it that you can group by the people as well? That's one of the things that was like,
Yeah, in the board.
yeah, that's definitely a one up on Trello.
So if you look at the groups on the top right hand side, you can see there where you can actually change
Mm.
who it's assigned to,
Right.
and you can see the buckets for Lynda, what's
Yes.
with you and so on and so forth.
So you can see who's busy and who's not.
Yeah. Who doesn't finish mark their tasks as
Do
completed.
you typically create those tasks like per week, or like to run kind of as a sprint? So like, here's all the tasks, get it all done. Okay, now we're going to do a bunch
Yeah,
more.
so we would do it, we would review it, so people would have a look at their task list and complete them, and then at the review meeting we would look to see, is it really finished? Have you really finished that task? And then after that review meeting we would come away with more tasks.
Oh, sorry, I completely lost track.
Okay, it should.
I've only flipped now, you have another 5 minutes.
Okay.
Three, but yeah.
I was very involved, sorry. Keep going, what else?
Because it was so interesting.
Yes.
And then
The charts are quite useful.
charts. See, Tawanda would have done a much better job of this. 'Cause
No,
he
you're doing
was in there.
fabulous.
Okay, yeah, so
The
it's
charts basically take all of your tasks and put it in one snapshot dashboard view, and you can see what's most recent on the right.
See how many tasks we've got left for your job here. We're nearly ready to launch and we still got so much to do for these.
It's normal.
Yeah. And the app, the mobile app is really cool as well. Yeah. So if you download it, it's really nice to have a look at your tasks and you can get to the documents and stuff as well. What else can I show you?
You can actually add in additional links at the top where it says board and charts. So you start off with 3 basic ones, and what you can do is you can add more links there to other aspects. So if you've got other things that you work on, for example, like another tool that you use or another place that you need to go to, or if you use, for example, Visual Studio or something like that, and you use TFS or something like that, you can
Okay.
actually
Wow.
put a link in there to TFS, which allows you to integrate that in, or team services.
Actually, in the top.
In
That-
those
Yeah.
links there, I believe there's a place that you can add in the link. on the
Okay.
plan.
That's pretty amazing.
And then this integrates with OneNote as well, very nicely. So you can, does anybody know what OneNote is?
Wait,
How many people use it? You're going to go through
I
it.
use
I
it.
use it. Very basically.
You can actually integrate it nicely in here, because if you add it within
Mm.
your planner and you add it for brainstorming and for scratching out whatever plans you need to, or just notes, meetings, agendas and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
it's amazing how it can really benefit a team. And you can do live collaboration on the notebooks actually, especially if they're here in Office 365 because it's central.
Yeah, and it's also nice to just on editing the plan. It's kind of nice if you set yourself up as the administrator. That's it, really.
Can you create just go, if you were adding a new question?
How How do
responses.
questions? Yeah, thank you. Questions. So add a question.
Oh, so you can create a text
Yes.
field and then you could say, enter your name.
Yes.
And
yeah,
then you
yeah,
could,
yeah.
because we had a situation a couple of years back where somebody was doing health surveys. So they would go outside, like you'd have a health day with, you know, they take your blood pressure, but you'd have to do a little mini assessment. And these guys were doing it in tablets. And they wrote so much code to do these health assessments, but that would have been a perfect
And
fit.
this looks so nice
Yeah.
on mobile as well. It's so easy. It's really just so the link opens straight up to this interface, and you just go yes, yes, no, 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 submit, and you're done.
Can you use, in your questions when you get the choices, can you use like a drop-down box linked to a list or a data source somewhere? Like for example, if you've got a specific list of products or customers or services that change on a basis.
No, it's not that clever yet. But hopefully,
Like the
when
yet.
more people start using it, hopefully they do add that kind of functionality, because that'll be really useful.
Would you be able to display one question per page? So answer question one, they go next? No.
There's no pagination on it, no. Like on surveys,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Obviously, they're trying to find a place for this and a place for surveys. And I think if you want it to be that little bit more complex, then SharePoint surveys is the way to go. But otherwise, forms is.
Okay, and can you use conditional logic? So,
Oh, they're branching.
yeah.
I did see that. Where did I see it?
In
Yes.
the ellipse in the top right in the
question.
question box.
In
After
the
required.
question box. Okay.
There might be branching there. No.
Subtitle and restrictions. It was here, I think. There, branching. Branching options. Okay, so obviously once you've set up all of your questions, like if you wanted to branch, you'd go from 1 to 4 or something. Yeah, so from 1 you would go to 6.
But it's not based on the response. So are you thinking if
Yeah.
they say
No,
yes,
no,
go
I
there,
think
yes,
I'll-
yes, go there.
I'll
Goes
check.
for,
Doesn't
is
no,
that clever? Next question or end of the form.
it doesn't appear to be it.
No.
But it's still basics. Like
It's very
Yeah.
basic, yeah.
it's just enough to capture.
Yeah. It's really just a chicken or beef. or yes, no, maybe.
It's still very cool.
And is this a full release?
No, this is a preview. Yeah. And then here, so this is mobile, so you can see how cool it looks.
Mhm.
That's really nice.
And I thought, oh, that's how they say it looks here, but on my phone it really is just as nice and as simple as this. So that's that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well done,
Oh,
Lynda.
that's actually really
That's
nice.
really
Yeah,
It's very useful.
I mean it's clean.
And then we'll
Talk a bit about this. Power BI, blah, blah, blah. It just helps you to build reports. I don't think you really need to talk too much about that. Power BI came out of Excel. So I don't know if any of you played with Power Pivot way back in the day, about 2009. But Excel's not really suited to that drive towards putting everything in the cloud. So Microsoft took all those very, very interesting things they built in Excel and pulled them out as a standalone product. That initial launch was very simple, very basic. Power BI couldn't really do too much, but it also just meant it kind of freed it up to not be bound to all the things that Excel had to be able to do, and they could pour a lot more resources into it and build that Power BI to what it is today. If you use Power BI at all, you'll notice that there's releases almost every month, little updates and little changes, so it's a constant work in progress at the moment. But what is exciting in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for BI products is that it's right up there with the leaders. So I don't think Microsoft has ever
Does everyone know what the Gartner quadrant is? Does anyone not know?
Me, I don't know.
What did you tell us? Oh, you don't know. So.
I don't know.
You want
What's
to
the
tell?
leaders?
Emil's going to tell us.
Yeah.
Okay. Gartner, as many people know, is a very big company that always they do statistics and that on business, and they tell you what is good quality in there. The Magic Quadrant effectively is something that they came up with to identify what is the best quality business based on the product, the service, and they've created these 4 sectors. that represent those parts, and then what they do is they take all of the companies and they measure them up against that. If you're sitting in the top right-hand quadrant, effectively your product is the best in all of the different sectors, and that's what people look for. In a nutshell.
And they do other industries as well. So they're really just there to. They're a great yardstick to measure products.
It's like KPMG without the stuff.
Without the stuff.
I like this one.
So a really big product in the Durban area, and maybe some of you guys have heard about, is ClickView. I don't know. So in the Durban area, ClickView just seems to have gotten really rooted in. But as you can see, in terms of what you're getting, your value out of your product. Tableau and Microsoft up there. Tableau, we also use Tableau. Tableau is, okay, we're not talking about Tableau tonight. So. Okay. This is a little diagram which just demonstrates a little bit about how the data moves. And so there's a Power BI desktop, which is, you can think of it like your development environment where you build your things, and that's a free download. And it can pull data from many, many different sources. And one of the reasons we're talking about it tonight is because it can pull data from SharePoint. So otherwise it probably wouldn't be useful to this audience. Then you publish your report that you've built into the Power BI service. And there it will sit in a little workspace for you. You can set up gateways, which allows you to connect your data on premise. So we've used that functionality. It's very secure. If you, we can talk more about that maybe in another talk, but I don't want to talk too much about how that works. And then your reports become accessible to your wider audience. And I say that with a pinch of salt, because how you get those reports out can sometimes be a challenge. They do embed. But they have just recently in June, they changed their licensing model. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And it was super frustrating for some of us who had potentially built solutions around that. There used to be this wonderful cheat where as long as your data was in Azure, you could share your reports with everybody for free. And that was very easy to do. So they've taken that away. Now the free version you cannot share anymore. But we'll talk more about that. Okay, the next slide is just talking to you about the links, and we're going to get into some samples there. I'm just using the Microsoft samples, and I just want to show you guys where those are and how to get access to them. There's a lot of free material just in the Microsoft site, but why don't we go there? Let's see if we can see it. No, skip. Oh, okay, Microsoft's still busy thinking. Okay, so anybody who wants this site, I mean, maybe it'll go, this can get it, we can put it on Greg's site or something like that. There's the links there for anybody who wants it. But if you do, when Lynda's account is set up, and we can access the Power BI web platform, if you go here to get data at the bottom left, you'll be presented with a screen. And what's really cool is if you go here to samples and solution templates or partner showcases, there's a lot of free stuff. Free data, free pre-built reports that you can steal, plagiarize, you leverage for ideas, whatever you want. If you go look in the partner showcase, there's beautiful reports that they've been built, all around the world. And then it gives you a sense of what, and we're going to go there in a bit, it gives you a sense of what Power BI is capable of. So that's all there for you to go and look at your leisure. Okay, we're not going to do that now. We're going to wait for Lynda's account. We're going to talk about pricing. Oh, there we are. Right, so Lynda, your Power BI is ready to go.
Watch that favor I am.
Okay, so she's already in. She's probably using a free account. We won't get into that. But if this wasn't the screen you were presented with, because if you have reports that have been built already, you might see those dashboards presenting themselves, or you might see a list of reports that you have access to. So I'm going to go here to, I'm going to do this, so we can open that up for you to look at. And I'm going to go to samples. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here. So why don't we look at, what's everybody kind of interested in, sales and marketing? Yeah.
It always
Pretty
looks pretty.
standard. So now it's going to connect to a Microsoft dataset, and it's going to import that data for us. And there it is. I was expecting it to take longer. Just going zone out a little bit. And let's see here. Oh, sorry. Okay. Right, and so this is a little dashboard that you can play with. We can see if we can. Okay, thank you. Your data set. Good. Should drill into the actual underlying report here. There we go. Oh. Visualization fields. I'm expecting to see like a little area here with data sets and. But okay, we can go back.
What do you want to have?
No, I was just trying to see where, you know, normally on the left you can see reports, data sets. In your. Oh, there it is.
There, just workspace, yeah.
Okay. So it was probably just taking a few seconds to breathe. But so now we can see here's our dashboard. So this is, you can get access to this and you can see how it is all built. It's all available to you there. These are the reports. So this is all your dashboard. These are all the reports. And what you can do is, and the way that dashboard was built, they just went here and they said pin, and I pin that. I can add as many graphs and bits and pieces to the actual dashboard as I want. Then you can also look at your data sets. This is the underlying data. Let's see, should be able to see it. We can probably say analyze in Excel. Yeah, we can drag some fields. So, do you want to build a report? We'll just drag in some sales data. Oh, it's total units and manufacturer.
You're gonna say it's too easy.
Yeah. You know what? We're going to pin this to our dashboard as well.
I keep saying this though, but it really does make the average user, like me, that is totally non-technical, you know how clever it makes us feel. You do all the stuff that before you could only do with the dev.
Yeah.
And now we do it all, and we
Save your report.
think it's a defunct occupation.
It's interesting, you can actually do this in Excel
Okay.
at no cost.
So I'm going to pin this now to our dashboard. Pin. And we should be, well, I called it, we should see it there, the Ventura. There it is. So really quite simple. Something that Emil brought up, and it is in one of the samples. You can build these dashboards in Excel and publish them into PowerBI, and they'll present themselves here. And then you can pin them to your dashboards as well. There is a sample that does that already, so let's go and see if we can find it. Samples. Which one would it be? Maybe retail analysis? Connect. Give it a second.
When you publish an Excel report, does it become a Power BI like file type or whatever?
PRBX? No.
I was just wondering because then you could schedule a refresh or whatever.
Yes, but your data set, it does come up with your data set. Depending where your data set is.
So Excel becomes a data set. It's the same as in SharePoint. When you take an Excel file and you put it inside SharePoint, what happens is that Excel actually is a data source, then you can access that from the SharePoint tools or whatever you use to connect it in. But the key that I'm trying to find out about is how you actually surface it.
So,
because the Power BI, you can't surface it in SharePoint unless you've got the paid version. That's where your challenge comes with the Power BI.
okay. So this is not the one I was thinking of, so we're going to just try another one. Samples. We'll try one more. If I don't find it now, we'll...
Essentially, Microsoft sees Excel as the presentation layer. So what they did with Excel is they took Excel and said, right, you can create your dashboard in there, and then you can just dump it into Power BI, and that'll become your dashboard, because it understands the XML format that Excel does. So what it does, it allows you to be able to take that and just basically use
Yes,
that
this
as
is the one. So if I click on this, it's going into an Excel notebook, and that has been published into SharePoint. So it's pretty cool.
using pivot views.
And when it's in Power BI, it's totally responsive.
And you can actually do that with Excel as well, though. when you put the Excel file into SharePoint, you can actually load up that Excel file, present it in SharePoint, and do the same thing using pivot tables or the pivot charts, I think,
Yes.
with slices.
Okay, so that's a little look-see at Power BI. Let's go back to the slides. So let's talk about pricing. There is a, I'm sorry, you were talking about embedding into SharePoint. I'm actually thinking of SharePoint Online. It's quite, you can embed into SharePoint Online. There's a, well, they actually previewed it about a month ago, the SharePoint add-in, but we didn't find it to be successful. So we just use the basic, once you've published your dashboard, and once if it's something you've shared with the organization, then you can embed it as basically as an iframe, yeah. But it's not great. I think I'm hoping they're going to advance that functionality, but I'm sure there are, like I said, there's releases every month as to and how you can embed it into SharePoint. Embedding into on-premise, I wouldn't recommend it. I think if you're doing that and you're probably looking at, then you're probably using the wrong product. Because then you're going out and coming back in again, and I don't know if that's such a great idea. Okay.
Because it depends on the customer requirements.
Yeah. We have a customer who use on-premise, but their long-term plan is to be cloud ready. So they're interested in Power BI for their long-term vision. So they're going to do the whole go out, come back in again. But yeah, exactly. Depends on the need. So there's the free version. You get 10 gigs of free storage space. It's plenty of space for your needs. You can do a daily refresh, 8 per day. So that's a scheduled refresh. You can't.
Is that refresh just for the data set that's sitting in the background, or is that a refresh per every time somebody views a web page?
When they view the web page, it's a refresh of the data set. So whatever's in the data set is presented in the report.
Okay, so it's basically the data sets and creating because it's creating
well,
a
they
cube
do
of
have
data.
direct query, and as
that
of
doesn't count, right? Oh, I'm not sure about direct query, but you can do a manual refresh.
you can do a manual refresh,
Yeah.
but you can do direct query. So initially on the free version, you didn't have access to the live data. You couldn't do that with the free version. You could only do that with the paid version. But now you can do direct query. But that's there's a disclaimer there. That's to your Azure data sources, so cloud data sources. So if your data is in a SharePoint list in Office 365, you can do a direct query, so it's live. If your data is in an Azure data store, you can do live connections. And you can do it through data gateways as well, so I've been told, but I actually haven't tried that. I don't know if anybody's tried live. I don't know, but in our situation, we don't necessarily want our Power BI reports pulling live data from our transactional systems, but yeah. So we have a scheduled refresh for that. So the big limitation and the big differentiator between free and pro, which is going to cost you $10 per user, doesn't sound like a lot, but in a big organization it can add up quite quickly. It's $10, with the exchange rate, you're looking at between 100 to 130 rand or maybe more.
When you're saying per user, are you saying per person who develops the system and publishes it, or per person who uses it?
Both.
Okay.
They all need to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a big limitation. They did in June as well bring out Premium, and obviously Microsoft has a very different pricing scale and as to what the rest of us, and we'll talk about what Premium is. But basically, Premium is like an on-premise equivalent where you can have a local version, and they say it's priced for the small to medium-sized business, but their pricing for the small to medium-sized business is going to cost you $5,000 a month, and that's at the entry level, the lowest scale. And in the Durban market, 50,000 rand a month is not competitive or not reasonable. Well,
Unless
for
it's
most
really the business for you.
yes, well, exactly. Unless you really have a strong case for it. But then there are other products. If your need is on premise, there are other products that I feel are more cost effective.
Can you take, so for example, if your Power BI tool that you've got, you obviously download it, you run it, you save it, and you've got like a
A
solution.
little file, a little yes, yeah.
Can I take that and go put it on somebody else's PC and just load it in there?
Yes.
So we can basically run it, but it's still very onerous. We still got to install
It
the
is
application, load it up, and
yes.
run it.
It's not enterprise. I don't feel it's like, in terms of a team solution, enterprise ready, you can't share code. So if I'm working on PRBX, if I build a model and I create measures on that model inside a particular report, they're not reusable. They're only reusable in that report. I find that whole, like you would want to kind of have the model independent of the reports. Is my
So run a cube in SQL
correct.
rather than have
So
it sitting inside.
we still do a lot of our heavy lifting at
At
the cube level, yes, and we just try and keep our Power BI level. But it also depends on your requirements. Some businesses are not interested in building. They don't have the. Sorry, we're getting too technical now. Yeah.
Jeez, you've lost a lot of
Yeah, so by the way, this is top level. So if anyone doesn't understand or have some questions, sorry, and then we're going to go one deeper into the next one,
Okay.
depending on what's people's interests
The
are.
best is to have for somebody like
But I didn't say that. up
have
front,
it
sorry.
on cube level, like all the calculated columns and everything already. So when you use this, you're just looking at desktop and you're just dragging things in and
Yes.
dropping things.
Yeah.
Because that's what the end user wants. They
Yeah.
don't want to go and create calculated columns. They don't understand how the formula works.
Yeah.
So this conversation is probably a little bit technical, but I wanted people to understand the pricing. There is another option because if $10 is not reasonable for your business, Power BI Embedded, which suits more that developer environment, where you upload your Power BI PRBX file, your local file, into an Azure space, and then you can build a website, and you can allow a very broad access, and then the costing comes down because you're not going to want to pay $10 for your customers to view your reports. So then it becomes your first 100 sessions a month are free, and thereafter it's 0.05 per session. It roughly translates to when I did this actual, but it's around 70 Rand a month for every session now. So by session, I mean, if you log on and you're looking at a whole set of reports, as long as you keep open and you can browse and view and carry on, but when you close that web page and reopen it, that's a second session. So it's not that costly. And we are talking to some people who are interested in doing this because they want to build reports to be consumed by their clients within their product, and Power BI Embedded suits their needs.
But now that's the costing for the Power BI. Because you're sitting in the Azure stack, surely your data is going to be in Azure as well,
Yes.
which means you're now paying your Azure bandwidth,
Yes.
your Azure data, and obviously any bandwidth that goes from your originating
Their
data source
data
into
Their
Azure.
data is already in Azure, so they're fine with that. But he's right. If your data is on premise or on a server somewhere, you still have to move it into Azure for this solution to work.
And it's based on the amount of data you're running, because it's all Azure is what you pay for.
So that's a little overview. Maybe got a little bit too technical for a touch there, but let's just go here. I wanted to show you one more thing. I'm going to go back here to the get data, just as a reference for. This is quite fun. I think I opened this already, but let's just go to showcase some really fun things that people have done. And there's a whole series of examples here. My favorite one is, I found it, is this. Well, this is one of my favorites. And we actually showed this to somebody who's interested in doing some stuff around risk for people getting hurt on the job in the mining industry, and they really liked it.
Should we grab a slice of pizza while we're waiting for this to load?
It's coming up. This is our last
Not
minute.
gonna take
I'm done. And then
Yeah.
and you know what? We didn't time me.
I know.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I've got a short amount, but as soon as this is up,
Yeah, we're done. We're almost done. So this is fully interactive. All these little images are, and you can see it's pretty cool. So there's a little add-in, and that's another little thing that you can know about is that there's a lot of space for you to build add-ins using. There's a lot of different things you can use, but so there's a add-in for doing these little infographics, and then they become live and responsive to your data. So very, very nice. But yeah, visualizations. People wanted their data to tell stories. And yeah, so that's it. Jump in, go play around, check out the samples, check out the partner showcases, and
inspired.
Well done. Does anyone want to grab some pizza while
You sit
yeah,
up.
yes, and then you can eat while I talk, which is probably safer.
I'm making another juice.
I'm putting you on timer though, so 5 minutes max.
Sorry, please tell me if I'm getting too technical. So talk fast.
Yes, I will. So I really love OneNote. Like, it is by far for me one of the most exciting things. Because when I first learned about SharePoint, I learned about OneNote, and I love it for a number of reasons. The main reason being it's a combination of Word, Excel, note-taking application, can integrate with your tasks. It is a fabulous tool to be able to organize your life. I highly recommend you do it. It does have some little gotchas. The gotchas are a lot of different platforms, like I was going to show you on my Mac, but like a nana, I forgot my VJ cable. But I can show you afterwards if you're interested. Basically the Mac version looks different to the Windows version, and the version that you get on your cell phone is different from the version that you get in Windows. The most feature-rich version is the desktop version, so that's what I'm going to show you. Okay. So when you first get OneNote, I'm just going to show you. You'll find that the icon, it'll be down on the bottom. The other thing I forgot to mention, which I really love about OneNote, is it's free.
Yeah.
So free is the right price. There is a paid version, by the way. The paid version just allows you to connect to more than one source if you're using the OneDrive version. If you want to save to more than just OneDrive, like you want to go to Google Cloud and stuff. There's ways you can get around that if you're using the desktop version, but that's another whole story. So I'm just going to show you the way that I would recommend that you set up the layout for OneNote is as follows. You'd click on your home and you'd click this little pin button on the bottom right hand corner. Okay, that's just going to keep it like your Word and Excel, so you've got the ribbon at the top, more familiar for a lot of users. And then you're going to click on this little sidebar and click this pin button. And now you'll see this is Lynda's notebook, which is how it will start out, completely fresh and new. I'm sure she uses it, but this is, yeah. But luckily she set it up for this. If you, this way. There's a number of ways you can create the notebooks. If you're using SharePoint, you can create them directly in SharePoint, like how you'd create a new document. I'm not going to touch on that because I just don't think I've got time, but it's pretty easy. You click new and under your file selection, instead of choosing Word, you choose OneNote. It's also most of the sites now come with the OneNote on the side, and you saw earlier with Planner. If you did want to create your own though, you could go to File, New. I'm just going to create one because I need one to be able to demo. So I'm going to create a demo one, create notebook. This is creating it on the PC though. It's not actually creating it on the OneDrive directory. Okay, so I could save it to a to a USB drive if I wanted to. No, sorry. Cool, these people. Okay.
Don't forget the tape drive, bro.
Okay. No, that's my error. So the best thing that OneNote can be used for is actually minute taking. And I really want to show you this feature. You're going to have to look at it on my PC because I had to reinstall Outlook on here. Install Outlook to connect it. But normally you would just click on the meeting details on the right here, and it would list all the meetings, and you could just click on it. What's amazing about it is it actually pre-populates that whole page with the attendees of the meeting, the agenda of the meeting, and the agenda, a link to the email. It'll say if they've responded or not in Outlook, and you'll be able to just go straight into a meeting. But a lot of the times you're meeting like this, and it's an impromptu meeting, so I'll use the impromptu one because I'd love to be able to show you that feature, but I can't. So I just go to click on Insert, Page Templates, Business, and I'll show you the nice fancy one. So if I go to detailed formal meeting notes, there I've got a pretty meeting. So I can say my agenda is show off OneNote. Okay. And then attendees, I'm not going to list you all. So I normally just put in everyone's thing. So Lynda, what's your surname? Hunter. Sorry. Lynda Hunter, Greg Melson. I'm putting, okay, and I just go through the acronyms. I'm definitely not going to do it. It would be way better if I could have planned it before. So maybe if I was in a real rush and I was capturing a meeting like this, I'd want to make sure, because I'm lazy, and most of the time I can't take minutes and think or talk at the same time. So I just click on the little record button here and listen to why DirectX can't record. But I promise you it works. You can check on my computer. This is why you never show a demo live. But honestly, it does work, and it works on my cell phone too. So I'm just going to record it on my cell phone so I can show you. Because if you're in this sort of emergency and the hardware fails, by the way, the OneNote one on your phone works offline, which is also very useful. Because who likes a product that you can't work when you're offline? So I'm just going to create a meeting here, meeting, and record. Look, it's recording. Can everyone see it's recording?
I'm
Cool. I'm just going to stop recording for a moment just so you can hear that it actually recorded. And this is where demos go wrong. See? Okay. So, and that'll sync also to my Windows on my Mac and my Mac on my Mac. And if I was sharing it with anybody else, it would be shared with them too. They would get those audio files.
That's pretty nice.
There is a cool little hidden thing also with that recording feature, is if I was taking notes at the time, like if I was in a lecture hall and I said, the lecturer started talking about, I don't know, maybe it was biology, and they started talking about red frogs, and I wrote red frogs over here, and then later on I was really vigilant and I could multitask, which I can't, but if I could, and later on I was writing down something about, he mentioned something about where to get cheap motor vehicle parts, so cheap parts, which I would listen to, because my air conditioner and my Renault cost 20 grand. But anyway, so the cheap parts, what's really cool is it would actually put a little plus sign next to it. You can try this out, or I can show you on my PC. And it would play back the audio from that position, so you could re-listen to just that one piece, which is very useful.
So with the plus sign?
No, it's a play button.
Oh, okay.
Please come and show, I'll show you.
How do you...
That's while you're recording the sound.
While you're recording.
Yes, yeah.
So it's just, if you take notes, it will synchronize the note timestamp with that point in the recording.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and most people don't know about it. So I've done it.
need Dave's full secret tricks.
No, we still need them. Because who likes to actually write the notes? Yeah, I think we need them, and I can't spell to save my life. I can outspell any Microsoft application. So you take down your list of attendees. This would really be nice if we could just make, when it comes, by the way, when you auto-populate it, it has these little to-do things, and you can just say if they're here or not with a tick box. If it's got all your standard word features, remember I said it's basic Word, so just think you can do all the standard basic stuff. What's really important, I'm going to sit down for a moment, and I'm just going to go through open issues, agenda for the meeting. So under agenda for the meeting, I'm just going to write some cool things that we were talking about. Something that was important is maybe next time Greg must bring a VGA cable. Next time Greg must bring VGA cable. Well, not quite. See, I can outspell. So I could have made that a to-do item, or I could make it just something important, because maybe I do it often, or I don't do it often. The other thing is maybe there were some questions like, can we have more detail? Can we have more detailed sessions on Power BI, and that can be a question, and there's a reason I'm showing you this. And then Greg must tell a joke, because I love jokes. Okay, that's a to-do item. And now what's really cool about that is if I had a number of different pages here, so if I'm just going to, another joke, and this was another meeting. So if I had like a number of notebooks, now just understand notebooks, you can think of them as lever arch files, and then under each lever arch file you've got your different
Sections.
yeah, thank you. So sections or dividers. So if I can create a new one over here, and this could be like contacts or something. Contacts. And you can change the colors if you like the pretty stuff. Most of the girls like to do the pretty stuff. The important thing I wanted to show you was the reason you want to tag all your items is if you want to find things later. So you want to go over here and click on find, and I can just say show me all the stuff that is unticked. So this could be all the to-do items. In this case, it's all the to-do items and the fact that Greg wasn't at the meeting. So let's just click that again. So it would go through the list and find me all the to-dos. It could have actually been if I'd been clever with my thing and not said tell another joke, that would have been a to-do item. So now we can actually
You need to search all notebooks.
yes, thank you. Yes, all notebooks. There we go. Thank you. So show all unticked. So there you can have the list of all your various to-do items. Also, if you've got a number of notebooks, you need a summary for your weekly meeting, then you can click on, there's a little thing, create summary page, and basically it creates a page with all those different items underneath it. So that's one of the really cool things over here. If I wanted to have an extra cool thing, like if you wanted to, which it's better to have tasks in SharePoint, okay? But if you're not using tasks in SharePoint, there is a cool way that you should know. Under Outlook, you can go custom, and then Outlook is not installed. So you can set up a task in Outlook. You have to click on custom and you can assign people to the task, and it'll automatically send it to their Outlook under tasks. Again, you can see on my PC. Actually, this works out well because for low time, this is perfect. If you go over here, you can remember I said it was like a mixture of Excel. Okay, so I'm going to create some Excel, and yes, some of you are going to say, Greg, creating a table is not Excel. That's fine. Math, English. So I'm not the bright guy around here. All these other specialists are. I just come because I need to ask the intelligent people, which is why you're all here. Okay, Lynda. Okay, cool. You're going to have a much higher mark than me, Lynda. Thank you. 756.
I'm grading yourself.
Oh, sorry, Lynda.
Whoa!
I was thinking of me. So now, what's really cool is you could just click on, go all the way up here, or you could just right click on it and click on convert. And if the demo gods are with us, magic will happen. But if Excel has not been properly installed, oh, yeah, okay, cool. You can have a I said that out loud. So what's also cool, if magic happens and you can click on the edit, it can open up in Excel. Ooh, that's pretty. And you can click on this little pretty thing and even show fancy stuff and prove that sums and formulas work, which is amazing because it really is amazing that that actually works, and it will be amazing if it updates. Okay. I do have to warn you, the reason I'm telling you this is because sometimes it does have a little bit of a hiccup with this, so it is something to be aware of. It works a lot of the time, but not all the time, so just be aware. You have to exercise some patience with it. What's really nice, if you don't feel like exercising some patience, I'll just create a new one of these files. I do want to show you this quickly. If I can show something quickly. Okay. T1, T2, I just need numbers. Where's this graph thing? Insert graph. Anyone remember how to insert a graph? Is this the right way? Oh, good. Okay, cool. I'm just going to save it onto this PC. Can I save it on the desktop?
Sure.
Or yeah.
I'll give you a stiffy if you
Just sounds so wrong. Okay, cool. So what's really I am married. So anyway, oh wait, what happened? Okay, no, I've lost all my senses. Okay, so if you drag you can drag your files into OneNote, and what's really cool is you see it actually looks inside the file, and you can see it says attach just the file, which will just put the file. You can click it, it'll open, or you can insert the spreadsheet like I've got there, or you can just pick on the chart and say if magic happens.
Okay.
Which is really cool. So that's another thing. It's got the whole screen capture thing, so if you wanted to capture part of the screen, that works. You can go through the putting in videos and all that other stuff in your own time. Also, you should just be aware of under templates, there are other cool templates like project overview. So if you're running a little house project, you can see it's not just minutes, but it's best 4 minutes, in my opinion. That's what I think OneNote is really strong in. So that's where I think you should use it, but it can do a lot of other stuff, as you can see. Especially like
Scrapbooking.
Could do scrapbooking. I'm going to get to that. Actually, you can do cool research with it. But if you've got one of those fancy Windows tablets as well, so you can go over here, and if you're going into a meeting, you can make it nice and big on the tablet, and then you can just draw, because as you'll see it on the top left, if you've got one of those cool styluses, you can select the pen, and then you can draw. If you're drawing with a mouse, I really hope AI is very intelligent, because I can not really draw that well, but I'm actually doing pretty well, I think, for drawing with the mouse.
I think what's nice about this is when you've got a picture, or if you take a screenshot of something, you can use the highlighter to actually highlight a section, which is cool.
If you take it, sorry?
If you take a screenshot, like
Oh,
if you're
yes.
in a meeting, you take a screenshot, you put it on the notes, and what you do is you highlight a section of it, or you put an arrow to it, and it allows you to be able to take those notes. When it's in the cloud, then everybody can see those notes later.
And it's collaborative in the sense that the other person can sit somewhere else, looking at the document, and as you're doing it, they like seeing it.
In fact, in America, a large portion of the students in schools actually have got OneNote, where teachers have got a OneNote for the class.
Yes.
They collaborate with students when they're at home, or if they're on sick, or anything like that, with live collaboration.
That's it. And live collaboration is actually one of the other awesome things about it. So you can see, it'll show you with the person's cursor flicking right there. And I did have a plan to show it, but I can't. But this is overview anyway, so it's fine. We can do that in deep if we want to. And then if you want to try convert it to text, you can click on the convert to text. You can see out converted it to text. Maybe it'll get my heart. Please show it. No.
Maybe take
So
a screenshot.
Look, in math it almost works. But I can assure you, with a stylus, it's actually pretty amazing. I've seen it work, and it does work but with a stylus, not with a mouse. Okay, and on a Windows tablet.
But I think with all of these apps, there are quite a few that overlap each other.
Yes.
So it's finding the right one to use that suits your purpose.
Yes. Like there is Evernote, for a lot of people are very comfortable with it. There's what's the other office? I actually got that list open. There's literally a list that I found of this long. Evernote and OneNote, you'll see there's a lot of banter between which one you prefer. It's really your choice. What's nice about, I think, picking OneNote is it's already integrated into the Microsoft package to quote, no shadow RT, keeping everything in a controlled sort of environment, which is nice. Well, the nice thing is that if it's saving back to SharePoint, also you can search for all your OneNotes, and if you put an alert on the document library where the OneNote is, you can get an email whenever the meeting minutes are updated, which is very powerful. Cool. So
you can also do optical character recognition. So if you scan a picture in, you can take the text off the picture.
Yes,
which is cool.
And it does that in OneDrive as well.
Yeah.
And so when you're searching through the documents, also that's where your policies become very useful in SharePoint, so you make sure no one's got credit card information on it. Yeah. So find by author. If there was more than one author, no, that's me. For the moment. So it would show the various different people underneath here and the time that they made these notes. So you can click on it and it would actually take you to the specific information. Now what's also crazy powerful about this is if you were looking for something, like you can go up here and say, Joe, did you see how fast it was? I've had like notebooks this long, it's that fast.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Sorry, but I love that.
And notice the one is sitting in the cloud and the other one is sitting local. The demo is local and your one is sitting on 365, right?
Yeah.
This is where I have to tell you my joke, because then I can, hey look, it did actually put the Outlook task there, even though it didn't finish connecting, because that's what it looks like. And in Outlook, when it's ticked off, it does this little green one over there. So once the person accepts the task and does the task, you can get it clicked off. But it must be in Outlook and it must be in the Windows version. And it did do a weird thing the other day when I was, but hey, sorry, let's not actually. Yeah, you rather tasks. I think tasks are better in SharePoint, to be honest. That's my opinion. But it is nice to be able to just quickly, while you're in OneNote, send off the email to someone in Outlook. How are we doing for time? Okay, so
I think one of the tools that I like about OneNote that I use extensively is when you're doing research, you can actually take an entire web page and dump the whole page. You can clip it straight into OneNote. So you can get 50 different pages around a topic, and then you can read it at your leisure on your phone, on your tablet, wherever you're going. It also helps to keep that from a history perspective. Like if you need to go in, for example, and you're doing a dev on something, and you've got that, and you want to go back to it, you can have a really good knowledge base on that if you've got all that sitting, and it gives you the reference of where you copied it from, the date and the time, which is very cool.
I think sometimes pages disappear. You can also let you like pin other section or page or something that you pin it to the desktop. So it basically stays on top of whatever you're working on. So it's easily accessible.
you can pin it to the desktop.
Yeah, always on top.
Oh, that's something I don't use. Oh, you see, like, that's cool. Okay, cool.
Another cool thing is if you use Microsoft Teams, you can actually add the sections as tabs in Teams.
Which is why it's
And also by default, I think when you create a team, it's actually creating a SharePoint site in the background, and that creates the OneNote file.
Yes.
And then it's a little bit confusing, but basically it's one notebook per site and then one section per tab, and you can have multiple pages, but it doesn't actually show you the multiple sections at the top when you view it in Teams. It has one collection of pages specific for that team, and it names the section.
I think Peter's going to have to talk about Teams.
Teams rock. I love Teams.
It is very awesome.
Teams actually take planets to a new level.
Yeah, it basically names the section, whatever you name the team, like a pin, I think the team name in there. So sometimes you get like characters, but usually it's couple. So we use that quite a lot.
Cool. Yeah. So just two other things also. If you delete something, because this is important, like if you delete a tab, you can find it under history, and just the only difference is it just doesn't go back like a normal recycle bin. You have to tell it where you want to put it. So you go over here and say, okay, cool, I'd like it in my demo, new section, move, and it'll be under
How long
demo.
does it stay there for?
60 days.
And the other thing that was quite important is spelling check.
That's all.
Yes, you've used that earlier.
Yeah. These other cool tools over here. The thing I do want to warn you about, the password protection thing. Like there's, try be careful with that. Don't use it I wouldn't really recommend it.
Like password protecting an Excel file or a Word document. If you forget it, it's gone.
Yeah.
You cannot do the forgot password option.
Yeah. So and it's normally on the section. So when you password protect it, will password protect that section. Yeah, be very careful with that. Links notes is what you were talking about originally, Emil. So you can set up a thing over here. So if I'm doing some cool research, and as you were saying, which is pretty epic, if I've got a web page open, SP events. So say I'm looking for all the cool events in for SharePoint. I've got these. Oh, yes, I know it's recording. These are cool events for SharePoint. Maybe it's everything SharePoint. And then if I was working, you can see it's got the little E there with a link to the web page. So that's above normal research tools. And if I had a Word document open that was pulled from SharePoint, okay, yeah, just because, trust me, if you type from the Word document on the left-hand side here, it would appear a little W. Again, it links back to the Word document inside SharePoint, which is very powerful. Then when you're finished, you just click on the little thing over here, and you say, stop taking notes. There might be another way, that's how I do it. And View, what's cool about View? Quick notes, these are just, I noticed this new quick note thing isn't on all machines, and I don't know why. So it's like stickies, and they save down here under quick notes. But I'm guessing it's if you don't have, you don't want to open up a whole new section, you're not sure where to organize it yet. It's kind of like your dump space, and then you move it in. Yes. And
every single notebook that you open up gets a quick notes note. And when you've got your account, like Office 365, you get your account, and then when you open up Notebook or you use OneNote for the first time, it will create a quick notes notebook tab that's just for you. And then everything that you want to attach or that, whenever you create links to things and that kind of stuff, you want to put it into OneNote, it will then come up with that quick notes as a quick way to just put something in. And you can take it from quick notes and drag it to wherever else you want to put it to structure.
Okay, cool. That is, yeah. So that is cool.
It's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Information.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing I just have to say is you can click anywhere on the page. So if you want to type anywhere, it doesn't matter, and it's a really cool tool. If you tab crazy, you can actually get on the side here. There's a thing, new selection group, which makes a tab of tabs. But again, your head will explode. Or at least the people that are sharing the notebook will. So I'd recommend keeping it as simple as possible, because life is complicated enough. But thank you very much.
Can I just offer a suggestion? Who here said they don't do documentation? Okay, so now nobody puts their hand up. Okay, so here's a quick pointer. Imagine if you had to use this demo notebook and you put all your documents in there. Let's say, for example, it's relating to emails, just dump them in there. Communication around a project, one particular project, you put it all down. When you go into File, if you can follow along there, and you go to Save As or Share, sorry, the export one up. apologize, not shared, export. You'll see there's a PDF on the right hand side, and what it does is it takes your entire section and all of the files that you've got in there and dumps that all into a PDF. And it's got the dates, it's got every single date, who edited it, and where you got it from, the links for it, the references for it. If you got it out of a web page, like the research we were just showing just now, it puts the web page link in there and it puts all of those things in, it attaches it all into one giant PDF. Take that, give that to your auditors, and you've got your documentation done. And then you've also got an active file that actually allows you to be able to integrate and regularly review. And you saw the search functionality, it's unbelievably fast. So you could have multiple projects, or you could have a particular customer with each section being a new project for that customer. And then what can happen is you can then take that whole project, when you finish with it, take the whole thing out, put it into PDF, and that's a portion of your documentation. There's also, one last point. There's a tool that the guys came together with, which is a phenomenal tool here. One of the things that you have a challenge with when you get really big and you get a lot of notes, is being able to organize them and have a table of topics. There's a company called OneNote. It basically embeds like when you've got a ribbon and you've got an additional add-on tool that goes in there. And it's a free of charge tool, and basically what it does, it allows you to put a table of contents on there. When you click on that, it takes your entire notebook, every single page, and it creates a table of contents on the first page for you. And you just run that again and it refreshes the whole thing for you. And it's a link. So you can actually have multiple pages here, and on the home page you can actually create a link to each of the subsequent pages or even the sections on that main page, simply by copying it and say copy this as a link onto that page there, and then you've got a linked file. Your whole OneNote is linked. Now take that, put that in the cloud, and each of your team members have now got access to that one file. So you're all collaborating around the same thing instead of everybody getting version A there and C there. And which version are you on? And just a thought. Hopefully that makes documentation easier.
So does anyone have any questions now, or is everyone's minds exploding? Like no, I like it because I like that actually. But like any deep questions, any top level, anything.
Simple questions?
Simple questions are good.
So would you take OneNote, would you, say if you're having a monthly meeting, would you make one notebook and then have each month's meeting as a section? Or would you have every single meeting as a separate notebook?
So I use one, there's many methods that you can use. I employ personally GTD. I keep restructuring the way that I do things, but the thing that I found very useful at the moment is I've got a kind of, every month I have a section, and I've got an archive section as well. And once that month is over, I move it into the archive section, and then I've got a today section. So actually it'd be better if I show you on my machine afterwards. So there's a...
But your answer is yes then. So if we're doing product development, you're going to have one notebook, you'll run your meetings. As you finish everything from the previous meeting, you'll archive it, but you'll keep one notebook for product development, one notebook for marketing, one notebook for a management meeting.
So you can have one, in the previous company, this is where I'd ask other people to speak their experience, but with the way I've run it before is every project would have a notebook, and every department would have a notebook. But it completely depends on your business. That's why like a lot of the experts will sit and they'll structure the way your corporate works. What works for me now, like with my typical size business, which is very small, I can run everything from one notebook. In the previous company I worked for, we couldn't, because you don't want all that, there's sensitive information, so you departmentalize your notebooks. Every department would have their own notebook. If there was a specific project, then that project would have a notebook, and then those minutes would be restricted to
but
that
your
notebook.
advice is limited if you can, and if you can't, then you expand and have multiple.
And I think what comes into the equation as well is who needs access to it.
Yes.
And there's no use you having a management notebook if there are different people that attend those different meetings, because you don't want to have a management notebook with board meetings and exco meetings in different sections. to me that would be better to have a board meeting notebook and each tab would have a different date. Or if you do have people on the same team that attend the same meetings, is then to stack those minutes. So have a section for management meetings and a section for sales meetings, but have the latest minutes at the top and just have one long running. I think it depends on.
I also think what you naturally would search for within a, one of the key features is the searchability. So if these meetings, whatever they are, you think historically you would want to search content that happened. If they kind of make sense to be grouped together, then I would put that in one.
You could also use pages as well. So under each section you could have multiple pages. So you could also have one per date.
So if you think about it like this, take yourself 5 years down the line. Now you've got a OneNote and you've got a bunch of meeting notes. How do you identify one meeting from another when you do a search? That's your key. You don't go and sit like everybody now. You've got to make a year and a month and a day and label everything with a year, month and day. So you've got to identify each page. You'll see it's got a title just above where it says Tuesday. So you can either label it there or you just go above the word Tuesday and type in your title there. Then you've got your section, which is a title, and you've got your that section, and then each individual page has got it. But bear in mind, you can create subsections. In other words, you can make another set of notebooks underneath this one. You understand that? But you've got to be very careful when you label it, because when you come 5 years down the line, you want to search for the notes, even in archive. How do you find a minute? Because if you type in junk on Greg's OneNote book, you probably have 1,000 different pages saying Greg was tell a joke.
You just remind me, I still tell my joke. Yeah.
So the most important thing is decide up front what your plan is and break it down into different parts, because sometimes you might want to do departmental, but other times it's per project. Don't be rigid and say this is what it's used for.
It's not the same as like when you do metadata in SharePoint. You need to think about how you're gonna like tag those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like how would you search for it like up front? Like so yeah, it's a bit of work I think in the beginning, but once you think about okay how you would search for it, then you use those templates.
And you might chop and change.
Yeah, like it does. I mean, you
would
can't
use that.
Yeah.
An important criteria was also the security is around the notebook itself, not on the sections. So you have to consider that when you're making it, because although there is the ability, if you're wanting to share this, share a notebook. So now I've got back over here. So if you wanted to email, say this notebook, so the whole demo notebook is stored under management. So it's actually in the management notebook, and I wanted to share just these particular meetings with somebody outside of the direct management. Maybe it was a secretary that had a certain amount of privilege, but I don't want her to see the rest of the pages. I can click on the email, and it's going to. Oh, that's right. It's going to bring up just that page, but it'll give me the link to the OneNote's file. Now, if they had access, which you can control, to that OneNote file, they would have access to all the meeting notes. If they don't, they'll only have access to that single page, but they'll be able to see it. Most of the time, I just edit the email and remove the link. But do you understand why it's important? Like, the notebook itself is the one that you're applying the rights to.
It's about the security.
Yes, not the sections. Even though you can password protect them, it's the notebooks that because also you want to, if you're using the search facilities under SharePoint, if they're stored under there, you want it so that people, when they're searching for their minutes or their information, you want it to bring up the relevant notebooks. You don't want a lot of rubbish coming through.
So a possible solution, let's bring it into SharePoint. Say, for example, you take your OneNote, you create a notebook, and you take it, you put it inside folder inside a document library. What's nice about
Even
that
I know that's not cool.
But the thing is, if you look at your users, at the end of the day, they're used to folders. But the nice thing with that is you can, put version control on the OneNote. It's maybe not ideal, but it gives you that functionality. It can be dangerous because OneNote can run away with you. But the other side of it is you can permission control that folder and the files inside it. Then you get away with saying, right, I create a SharePoint group for that folder for management. then that folder is
But
controlled
that's if
within
all
that
else
context.
fails.
Yeah.
Please, and Denise is my client, so please don't tell her that she can never fall.
No, it's just it's a way of creating multiple OneNotes in different sections and allowing people to collaborate using SharePoint. And it's just one way to, but it depends on your customer base as well. Are your customers able to understand the different ways that SharePoint works and work without folders, or do they still need to have that structure?
Sorry, Greg, can I just say, some of my team need to go.
Yes,
So
that's
not
fine.
to be rude,
No.
but
Yeah, I know, and also I think for time wise, just for the sake of everyone and their kids and families, we have to call it. But it has been great. I just like a short thing. If everyone could just grab a piece of paper though, and pass it around, and just write on it. Which talk did you like and why, and what would you like to see at the next one? In terms of some detail in there. Can we use this pen? Yeah. And thank you all for coming. Everyone, if anyone would like to see extra stuff afterwards, to prove that I didn't lie about the email stuff, it's there. The pen's here as well. And thank you all for coming. I hope you find us. Thank you, pilotfish. Where's Lynda?
Thank you for the pizzas.
There's Lynda. Lynda and her minions.
Linda and pilotfish. Thank you so much for hosting the event. Oh, I'm gonna need to run to my car because I have to get something.
Do we have to only use one talk? Just use like all.
I've got one of your cool things.
If you want, you just have to. I like that. But then put a reason.
Oh.
I think you also know why you like it.
Gotta think.
I'm just These are very cute.
The dev guys is not like this. The dev guys. Dev guys need to like tea. Not in tone. They put their back.
Do we?
No.
I'm also just because we need the story.
You also put
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, if you could just check in the middle and then I'll have a look. Anyone, can you listen to my joke? So, yeah, did you hear about someone broke into my house the other day and stole my office? They got in via Windows.
Oh.
What's our IT?
Yeah, I told them the other day.
We've already registered each other.
Last time also we had a donation from the SharePoint people, so I'm just waiting for everyone to get back and then we'll have
I don't
a...
think we're coming back.
Okay, cool. Just one quick question. So whose is Power BI?
I don't copy
Okay, cool. You get a share.
that.
And
Thank you.
cool. And one other one. So who liked OneNote the most? I can't give out that many. Well, I'm gonna say, but I really appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Thank you all for coming. If there's any comments and stuff, please could you